All right, we're about to dive into one of the biggest economic shifts of our lifetime. And no, it's not some new crypto or an AI boom. It's something much, much bigger. We're talking about a transfer of wealth so massive, it's literally going to rewrite the rules of our entire financial world. Just look at that number, $124 trillion. Let that sink in for a second. That is the insane amount of money that's going to change hands from one generation to the next by 2048. To be clear, this is the single largest handoff of assets in all of human history. And guess what? It's already started. So that brings us to the big question, right? What actually happens when a financial tidal wave of this size finally hits the shore? Because this isn't just about rich kids getting richer. No, this is a fundamental rewiring of who controls the money, how they invest it, and what they even care about. Okay, so first up, let's frame this correctly. It's not just a transfer. It's really more of an unwinding of an entire way of thinking about money. We are watching in real time a pivot to a totally new market philosophy. And this really gets to the heart of it. You've got two completely different mindsets. For the boomer generation, investing was pretty straightforward. Accumulate capital. Just make the pile of money bigger. Simple. But for millennials and Gen Z, it's all about algorithmic and value-based allocation. What does that even mean? Well, it means they're using tech to guide their decisions. But, and this is the key part, they're also filtering every choice through their own personal values. It's a total game changer. So who's actually catching this generational torch? Where is all this cash, all $124 trillion of it, actually headed? Here's the breakdown. Now, $18 trillion going to charity is a huge deal. That's amazing. But look at the other slice. The vast majority, $106 trillion, is going straight to heirs. That's the money that's really going to stir things up. And if we zoom in on those heirs, here's who we see. Gen X, they're getting a nice slice, $39 trillion. But the biggest winners? Millennials. They're set to inherit a jaw-dropping $46 trillion. Think about that. They are the first generation of truly digital native investors to control this kind of capital. That changes, well, everything. And here's another huge part of this story that often gets overlooked, a massive gender shift. It's simple demographics, really. Women tend to live longer than their spouses, which means they are on track to inherit and control over $40 trillion of this wealth. The implications for the market are massive, likely pushing a big shift towards things like long-term impact-focused investing. So we've got new people in charge of the money, and that means a completely new playbook. It's like the financial world is about to meet a totally new kind of investment DNA, and it looks nothing like what came before it. Just look at this gap in trust. It's wild. Only 14% of boomers are cool with an AI managing their portfolio. But for Gen Z, that number jumps to 43%. What does that tell you? It's screaming that a major exodus from old-school financial advisors to new AI-driven platforms is probably just around the corner. Now let's talk about what they're actually buying. This number right here is a real bombshell. For 71% of Gen Z investors, crypto and other alternative assets already make up over a third of their entire portfolio. Imagine what happens when trillions more flow into their accounts. This could be a massive rocket fuel injection for the entire digital asset space. You might be thinking, oh, so this is just about so-called ESG investing. But it's actually way more nuanced now. You could call it ESG 2.0. It's all about pragmatism. While younger investors want their money to do good, most of them are now demanding real, measurable outcomes. The new rule is simple. Show me the financial returns first, then show me the positive impact. It's almost like a more grown-up version of capitalism, where profit and purpose are expected to go hand in hand. Of course, none of this happens in a bubble. There's a whole complex web of rules that's going to shape how this all plays out. So yeah, let's get into the less glamorous but absolutely critical stuff, the tax and regulatory landscape. For the ultra-wealthy, these are the numbers that matter. Right now, you can pass on about $15 million tax-free. Anything over that gets hit with a 40% tax. Oh, and you can gift $19,000 a year to anyone you want tax-free. These are the basic rules of the road that are going to dictate how all this money moves from point A to point B. But honestly, this next term is probably the single most important market driver of them all. It's called the step-up in basis. Let me make it super simple. Say your parents bought a stock for $10, and when you inherit it, it's worth $1,000. Well, thanks to this rule, your new cost is considered to be $1,000. This is a huge tax loophole. And here's why it's so powerful. You inherit the stock, the value steps up to whatever it's worth that day, and then you can sell it immediately and pay almost zero capital gains tax. So what does that do? It creates a massive, massive incentive to sell off inherited assets right away, which could unleash huge waves of selling and volatility across the entire market. Okay, so with all this money flying around, it's got to be a new golden age for the markets, right? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Well, not so fast. There are some really big unseen risks here that could turn this whole thing into a trap. This quote just nails the central fear perfectly. Instead of kicking off a great new boom, this event could actually trigger a great unwinding for the very markets that created all this wealth in the first place. And there are two big reasons to be worried. First, the cost of longevity. Boomers are living longer, and the sky-high cost of healthcare is literally eating away at that pile of inheritance money. We're talking trillions being diverted from investments to end-of-life care. Second, there's the consumption trap. Unlike their parents who saved everything, a lot of heirs are probably going to spend this money, paying off student loans, buying a house, traveling. That's money that doesn't get reinvested, creating a giant liquidity drain right out of the stock market that can hit everyone's 401k. So in the end, that's the one critical question we're left with. We're watching the rise of a new inheritocracy. Are their values and their tech-savvy habits going to fuel the next great economic boom? Or is this historic moment going to be the one that drains the very system that made it all possible? We don't have the answer yet, but we're definitely going to find out over the next couple of decades.